On February 28, Finance Minister Simplex Chichorabanda presented to Parliament the 8.05 trillion kwacha 2025-2026 national budget. Of the total budget, recurrent expenses are estimated at 6.04 trillion kwacha, while development expenditures are estimated at 2.1 trillion kwacha. The budget has a shortfall of 2.47 trillion kwacha. To make sense of the figures, I engaged the Secretary to the Treasury, Dr. Betchani Tcheleni, with whom we also discussed the local economy, which has largely remained volatile. Firstly, SD, welcome to the program.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much. It's been some time.
We are speaking a few weeks after Finance Minister Honorable Simplex Chichorabanda presented to Parliament the 2025-2026 national budget statement.
Yeah.
Of course, the statement is already rated by critics as number one, a campaign budget. Number two, one that is unrealistic and consumption-oriented budget, and not development-conscious budget. You are the technical man or technical lead in the formulation of the budget.
Sure.
What's your response?
Well, it depends on the prism on which you're trying to look at the budget. If your prism are political, you are likely to see a political budget. If you are removing the politics and try to look at the economics in the budget, you see a lot of economics in it. We are coming from a situation where we used to have a budget that would be 16% or 17% development in it. And here we have a budget that's showing somewhere around 25.5% of the development happening when we look at the quantitative aspect. But there's also the qualitative part of the budget, which I think not many people are looking at. Let's begin to look at the quantitative aspect. So we are saying that when we look at the macros, all right, the macroeconomic fundamentals, that would be your inflation, interest rate, and maybe exchange rate. The fundamental question you should ask is, why are we here? That question has got a textbook answer, but it also has an answer that is about what is happening really on the ground. The textbook answer will tell you that it's because governmental expenditure is burgeoning, but that's textbook because there are equations which people have done and they are able to show that. But really on the ground, textbook or no textbook, you will know that it is a supply aspect. So as much as people are looking at the demand side of things, but the supply side has been neglected for way too long. We have over-depended on subsistence agriculture. We think that rain-fed subsistence agriculture is what is going to solve the problem. No, it won't. And here we have come up with a budget that says we need to do rain-fed agriculture, yes, but also, most importantly, irrigation agriculture. So we have brought in 99 billion into the budget to say, let's fix the food supply issue. Because when we look at our inflation numbers, the question is, what is it that influences inflation in Malawi? You find that food aspect is the highest, to the north of 40% actually. That's the contribution or the share of food in the CPI. So if you deal with food inflation, you are dealing with inflation in Malawi. So then how do we deal with food inflation? Is it by buying maize in Tanzania? Is it by buying maize in Zambia? No. You deal with that food situation by producing a mass. Because subsistence agriculture, as it were, is not even in our own aspirations as Malawians. Our aspirations have indicated that we've got 3 pillars in the Vision 2063. Agriculture commercialization is one of them. And so let's go commercial in terms of agriculture. It costs money to produce maize. It's not for free. It costs money for you to get the fertilizers, the labor, everything. It costs money. So let's invest in that. Because the day that we are going to produce a lot of food, in this case, for example, we are thinking that if we get an extra million tons of maize, it means that to the already 2.8 or 2.9 million ton that we're expecting from rainfed this year, we are going to have just enough for the whole year for Malawi. It means then that you'll be able to stabilize inflation. When you stabilize the inflation, economists will tell you that then you are also able to stabilize and lower nominal interest rates, which then means that the macros are beginning to behave, and that's what you need quite much. Then you're saying, okay, fine, if you are doing that, then what's next should we do? Then the qualitative part enters into the fray. We have the MDCHL, Malawi Development Corporation Holdings Limited. What is this duty? We are saying that we've got the ATMM, all right? So agriculture, tourism, mining, and manufacturing. So the duty of the MDC Holdings Limited is that because it is holding, we should look at this ability of this company to trigger manufacturing in the country. So that's what we need. And you can't have a budget that says we are going to produce. The budget can trigger production of the commodities, because we have all agreed that we are going to be a private sector-led economy. But then we have sat too long by just looking at the private sector doing things willy-nilly. The time has come when the private sector need to come to the party with the vision of the country, the vision of the government.
But still talking to the figures and the numbers, Esti, you've highlighted indeed how you can divorce politics from economics. Looking at the figures and the numbers, are hoping 8.05 trillion budget, up from 6 trillion.
If I was going to give you a context of the budget, that number was somewhere around 16 or 17 trillion.
Which was
we had to trim it. And as we are trimming it, mind you, it means that a number of MDS, they are worried that you are trimming our activities.
I was about to get there. With a deficit of 2.4 trillion.
Yes. Yes.
One still wonders, Esti, to say we are evolving within the very same circles where we continually borrowing with a widening gap, and we seem not to see what we expected to see.
One question that I think many people in the media need to begin to ask is, what are we borrowing for? That question has not been asked many times. I've always said that, look, when you look at our ORT, our, for example, PEs and others, we are able to finance them from the budget, from the revenues that we are able to collect. So most of this borrowing is actually meant to be for development, for investment. We borrow for a road, we borrow for a university, we borrow for a hospital. Why? Because when we build that hospital, healthy people are going to work more, and therefore we collect more taxes. We borrow to build schools because people are going to be educated and they'll work smartly, and therefore we'll be able to collect more revenues in the future. We borrow for better roads. Why? Because commerce needs good transportation. There must be roads, passable roads, strong and climate resilient type of roads. That's what we need. So when you look at that, then you discover that we're not just borrowing. We are principally borrowing for investment, because salaries we pay, pensions we pay, the fuels for senior government officials and the activities we pay. We are able to do that. Pretty much about 90 or plus percent of all our what we call the mandatory expenditures, we are able to finance from the revenues that we are able to collect. Because remember, the budget, it's supposed to be an equation. Revenues on the other side and expenditures on the other side. So this is why the borrowing is happening.
How about borrowing to service debts? What explains that?
Now, that's an interesting question that you have asked, because government is a going concern. Being a going concern, it means that whoever is going to be in power, whoever is going to be in government 30 years from now, It means that the loans that we have gotten today concessionally, they will have to be responsible to pay back those loans. We are responsible right now, you and me, paying back loans that would have been borrowed 7 years ago, 10 years ago, some of them. But we are paying back today because we are the government. We are Malawi. So we still must continue to pay. But the question is, how do we pay? And I'll tell you that borrowing to pay for a debt, it doesn't necessarily happen. Now, I need to be understood here. It's because I'm at the end of the month, I must pay salaries. All right? But also, at the very same end of the month, maybe there's a maturity that has fallen. I must pay. So I will either pay or I will discuss with the colleagues who lent the money to us if they can roll over. Rolling over simply means that you are taking the same loan and re-borrowing in a way, all right? Because you know that if we don't do that, it means that we're not going to pay the salaries. If we don't do this, it means that that project is going to stall, it's going to stop. What should we do? Let's discuss for this, and then you do that. So there are a lot of loans that we have been rolling over. We are rolling over so that government business must continue. We can't allow government business to stop. Then it means that the economy, the country, has stalled. You cannot close schools. You can't close a hospital, for God's sake. You can't say stop a building that road. No, you can't do that.
The World Bank thinks Malawi is in what it calls fiscal crisis, which requires an urgent move away from business as usual to address the precarious situation that we are in as far as public finance management is concerned.
I agree.
What is your take?
I agree fully, and I've been in discussions with the World Bank many times. The World Bank Malawi office, World Bank Africa office, and World Bank Global office in Washington. We have been discussing not just the World Bank, but many other organizations. And it's not like we don't know as Malawi. We do know. But the question which people are not asking, which we are not finding the answer, or which people are not trying to say, let's find an answer to, is to say, what exactly is happening?
Let me put it across to you. What exactly is happening?
That question is very important, and I've been looking for this opportunity. Malawi is not producing. We have been, for so long a time, we have been busy with the trivia, things that don't matter for the country. That's what has kept us busy. And now we are saying, no, we can't continue to do that. The president has been very, very clear. He has said, good people, we can't continue to do business as usual. Now, here's the issue. Today, because those are the things which we go, there's a book that I've been reading. I read it when I was a student, and I realized that I need to read it again. It's called Modern Macroeconomics, where there are competing theories about how do you deal with a macroeconomic situation. And there's one statement there that I find to be very, very important. You see, the challenge, the problem with macroeconomists is that they focus on not the productive sector, not the real sector. They focus on the monetary sector. So that's monetaries. Now, the challenge with that is that you tell government, curtail spending. Government can curtail spending today. You say, hey, listen, good people, you can't continue to increase the salaries. Stop it. Okay, fine. We will not increase the salaries. But what is that going to solve? It won't solve anything. In my view, let's discuss the supply side. So what is really happening now is that we are focusing on the demand side and not the supply side. One challenge that we are facing now is that there is an inflationary pressure. Inflation, by its definition from ECO 102, it says that inflation means that too much money chasing too few goods. So you either reduce the money supply so that people can have few money to buy the goods that are there, or leave people with their money and increase in the supply. Then you are dealing with inflation. In this country, we have tried a lot of things to curtail the growth of money supply. but inflation continues to increase.
I was about to ask.
Exactly.
I was about to ask.
Yes.
Would we be fair if we are to say the Treasury is a culprit of pushing too much money in the system?
In fact, it's very unfair. Very, very unfair. And the good thing is that even the Reserve Bank agrees. Because in this country, how many times has the Reserve Bank increased the bank rate? It has been going up and up and up, but inflation has also been going up and up and up. That tells you that it is not the issue of money supply per se, as much as from my textbook economics point of view, number one. Number two, which is something that I agree, yes indeed, when there's too much money, you should expect that there's going to be inflation. But who has that too much money? If the Treasury is pushing a lot of money into the economy, it's pushing it through which channels? That question people don't seem to answer empirically. Because the empirical question here, which really makes a lot of sense, is that Malawi is not producing. Malawi wants...
explanation to that would be, ST, pushing resources into populist interventions.
Now, that's an interesting one. If you remove AIP, I will ask to say where else.
My duty remains to ask you, ST.
No. Yes, indeed. Your duty remains to ask me. But when you talk about populist, if I remove AIP, which other populist sector would you tell me that we have pushed a lot of resources into? And trust me, the answer will be none. And when you look at the AIP, okay, maybe let's not call it AIP. Let's call it subsidy to subsistence farming. You will note that subsidies to subsistence agriculture have started in this country when Dr. Bakiri Muluzi became president through what we call the starter pack. And then FISP came in. And then now we've got what we are calling the AIB. So that's the populist part. You can't tell me that health is populist. Education is populist. Roads construction is... These are not populist areas. These are areas where we are a developmental state, for God's sake. We need to have the roads. We must educate our people. We must make sure that the health services are of good quality and they are being provided to our people. These are the things that we need.
Talk about which the relationship between...
But I needed to come here as well to say that from last year, from the last financial year, you have noted that this treasury has actually started to cut the AIP budget. And we have been increasing the other part of the agriculture budget, irrigation, mega farming. Those are the areas that we have been increasing. Because we know that that's where food supply is going to be increased. And it is this food supply which is going to meet the supply of money, as it were. So people can blame the Treasury. And I've been speaking with the governor of the Reserve Bank, for example, and thankfully he has been a fiscal economist himself. He has sat in my seat for about 3 years, and I've been asking him to say, do you think if you raise the interest rates to 100%, the government will stop borrowing? The answer is no. Government will continue to borrow. So the biggest borrower of money in Malawi is the government. So when you are increasing the bank rate, you are principally saying stop consumer borrowing and also stop a private sector borrowing. But government will continue to borrow. It won't stop. Now, as that is happening, are you solving the problem, or you are principally increasing or deepening it? My answer is you are deepening it. It's time to stop being oblivious about the real sector. That's where the challenges are. If you're going to look at the vision to 2063, it focuses on production. You are a self-sustaining economy if you are producing. You're not a self-sustaining economy if you continue to depend on imports for maize, for clothing. If you continue to depend on second-hand clothing and you say that you're going to be a self-sustaining economy, that's pharmaceutical also. For the economy to be resolved, let's have people in this country to be incentivized to produce. we should not have people to be incentivized to bring more second-hand clothes, then this economy will continue to go down. That's what the Treasury has been trying to do.
How about currency devaluation? We are still talking about the working of the correlation between the fiscal space and the monetary side of the equation. In a space of less than 4 years, devalued the kwacha by more than 100%, if we are to factor everything. Does it add up? Does it bring the solution we sought for?
No, it doesn't. Again, that's the thing that we have always argued with our friends at the fund, the IMF, our friends at the World Bank. We've been arguing against that. We have been saying that, look guys, we can devalue and devalue and devalue until you devalue by whatever percentage that you can think about. You never solve the problem. The solution is in the real sector. I have gone to the World Bank and I have told them my story. I've told them that, listen, good people, you want to help us for real. If you are really, really there to help us, I've gone to the fund and I've told them, if you really, really want to help us, here's how you should help us. Help us to bring in tractors in Malawi. Help us to organize our land parcels. Thankfully, the World Bank has just agreed that we are going to that they are going to fund the registration of land in the country, because we believe in the entitlements approach to development. By that we mean that when people have got a piece of land and it is not registered, you cannot take that piece of land to the bank and say that I want to produce here. You can't do that. So that continues to be subsistence. So we have gone to the fund, we have gone to the World Bank, we have gone to so many people, and we have told them that we want to work with you. Can you please help us? Bring us more tractors. Even if you don't give us the money, just bring us the tractors.
Talking of the relationship as we draw closer to the end between Lilongwe and the Bretton Woods institutions precisely, IMF if I'm to be very specific.
Yes.
There hasn't been much talk about the extended credit.
No, we don't need to talk too much about it.
Where are we?
No. I mean, look here. People need to understand. It's not good to make people uncomfortable because you are discussing the ECF. Whenever there's the mention of the ECF, there's some discomfort that comes in. No. I want to say here that the ECF is just a name of a very good program, which Malawi can do without necessarily there being the IMF or the World Bank. We can do it. We have done it before, but we have to do it realistically. So we have been questioning about, for example, the assumptions. We have been questioning about some of the prior actions that we are supposed to do. How realistic are they? But as we are discussing that day, we all came to a point where we say that we need to rediscuss this thing. So we are rediscussing the whole thing.
Has the government shifted focus on this?
The government has not shifted focus on economic growth and economic development for Malawi. So it's not just about the ECF. We can't just look at the ECF and think that the whole economics in Malawi is ECF. No. There's so much more economics in Malawi other than the ECF. The ECF does not talk food production, by the way, if people didn't know. The ECF does not talk road maintenance and road construction. It doesn't talk about that. It is a contractionary economic policy. And we have been saying, no, at this stage we don't need a contractionary economics. We need expansionary economics. If you're going to have a factory, we must be prepared to take a risk to borrow money for a factory. Because that factory is the one that is going to employ the people of Malawi. If somebody says, no, don't borrow for the factory, then what are they saying? They're saying, don't employ people. Don't have jobs. Don't create jobs. That's what it is saying. So we've been saying, You read these books, we also read the same books. So you are economists, we are economists. Sit down, let's discuss. And we are rediscussing, this time very soberly. And because we are discussing very soberly, everyone is now able to understand each other. We are saying we want to stabilize, but we can't stabilize when people are dying with hunger. We can't stabilize when there's no hospital. People are dying in hospitals. We can't say stabilize, but forget education. Stabilize and forget security. Stabilize and forget manufacturing. No, we can't say that. That's why the Maguero Industrial Park is here to stay. I need to repeat this. in case people don't really understand. The Maguero Industrial Park is here to stay.
The Maguero Industrial Park is here to stay. I quote you. Last but not the least, ST, we are talking in an environment where we are predominantly an importing nation, predominantly consuming from outside, precisely, with a very thin base of manufacturing, if I'm to use that word. And at the time when we have resource squeeze, and at the same time, as if that is not enough, we're speaking at a time when commodity prices continue to rocket, affecting almost each and every of the 20 million Malawians.
Yes.
Last question to you. What does the future hold?
So now, you should have asked me this question at the beginning, because I can give a whole 1 hour lecture on this one. Economics or economic trajectories, they are never instant. It's not like instant coffee. It's not like instant tea or instant porridge. That's not economics. Anything that happens in that way should be having a problem somewhere. Economic development, the trajectory, is always planned, and there is always what we call T plus N, where N is the time period to which you expect to begin to see good results. We have taken some of the bold decisions in the past 13, 14 months. We have taken some bold decisions for example, about irrigation, decisions about mining, things that you never heard they would happen in this country. When I went into the Treasury, for example, we said, what is it that is failing for us to finally sign for the MTS? No, but there are these taxes and those taxes and those taxes. I said, come to the table, let's sit down. We sat down, we looked at the issues. In 2 weeks' time, we were able to resolve and we signed. Kairikera is back up. We have started. Nkango is here. And now we're discussing the rutile. And then the mining company is here. These things cannot give you results in a day, not even in 6 months. You can't get those results in that time. You begin to see the results when the actual mining has started, and we have started to do the exportation in the right way. All right? I mean, like what the Vice President said the other time, that no, we would rather stop all exportation of our minerals to make sure that we understand how the exportation should start to happen. That's how economic trajectories start. There are things that you can deal with right now, but they're not things that are going to solve the bedrock of the economy. Solving the bedrock of the economy is like building a house. The foundation, you begin to lay with the footing, and then you do the brick laying. And then after that, you fill the soil, you put in a slab, then you begin to see the wall. But the house is not over. Then you are going to say, let's roof it. In fact, when you're building a house, you begin by throwing things into a dungeon. Then you're building a house. Then you want to say, why are we throwing things? We need to begin to see things sprouting up. Yeah. You begin by doing that. That's what we are doing now. We are taking some shots. For example, to say that we can, actually, it's bold for even His Excellency the President to say that we must start to find a way of exiting from the AIB. It's because he himself, he understands that if you're going to solve the food insecurity challenge in Malawi, the solution is not in subsistence agriculture. The solution is in commercial agriculture. So good people find a way that is going to trigger the commercial agriculture. It's in mining. Where are we with the MDC? It's here. It's moving. Okay? Keep moving. Let's see where it's going to take us. You have heard me, for example, publicly admonishing parastatals or SOEs that are not productive. I've admonished them publicly. I've said, why do you want us to give you money if you are not giving us anything? I'm not prepared to do that. Right? So that tells you that we are on the trajectory towards the right direction. And you have seen it for the first time, maybe in many years, that it is now that we have worked with the government, I mean with the Reserve Bank, and then the security apparatus, and we continue to work together, we are going to look for the people who are doing the speculative aspects for the foreign exchange. We are dealing with them. Yesterday I was with members of parliament, and they were giving me names of people who are actually propagating that. There is this one, there is this one, there's this one. And we are going after them. In Chichewa Bwana, Situgawa Maswiti.
Let's end on that note of not distributing sweets. SD, once again, thank you so very much for your time. It is always an honor to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
That's how we conclude this special interview with the Secretary to the Treasury, Dr. Betchani Tcheleni, with whom we're discussing issues to do with the budget vis-a-vis the state of affairs of the Malawi economy. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is Kumwembe. Till next time, bye for now.